Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Touching You Talk Show. I am Elder Sheila, and I have my distinguished talk show host, my co host on the line with me today in the person of Rochelle Kent and Mr. Calvin Henson. And we'll mention Jordan Diggs in his absence. We ask that you will pray for his family in this season. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? I am so glad that you are here. For those who may not know you, I ask that you would just tell us about you, a little bit about you, and how long you've known me. Go ahead, Rochelle.
Okay, sure. I am Rochelle Kent. I have known Sister Elder Sheila Black for is it 2 years now? I think I've been to two women's conferences, so I'm gonna say it's 2 years. That's how I'm counting it.
Okay.
Okay. Um, and we are members at Dayspring Family Church in Irving, Texas.
Hmm.
Together, and she is one of my biggest cheerleaders, and she pushes me and encourages me, and she gives my kids cookies, and and I'm just out here just trying to help people, educate them about autism and politics and all the things. So
So,
yeah.
so you actually have a show tomorrow. Tell me about your talk show tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow is our podcast on the Touching You Network, and that's with Dr. Yolanda McKinney, who is my other sister, and we will be talking about evaluations. We know, especially those that are in church and those in the Black community, sometimes we don't want to get our children evaluated for special services, especially autism, because it's kind of a scary word now. And so we're going to be talking about it and talking how you can have faith in God and still go get evaluated.
Good. That's good. That's good. And if you have not watched the show, I know on Facebook deletes the shows after 30 days or so, but you can go back on the YouTube channel, the Touching You Talk Show YouTube channel, and you can go and watch episodes on demand, or you can go to the Elder Sheila Black and watch those episodes on demand. So next we have Mr. Calvin Henson. How are you today, sir?
Hello, hello. Very happy to make my reappearance. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Absolutely. We missed you the last couple of times. Let's see. One
Yes.
time you had the flu, and the other time
Yep.
you were in transition moving. So we're
Yes.
so glad to have you here today. So how long
Yeah.
have I known you? Let me think. You tell.
Um, I think it has to be over 3 years. I did some digging back today and realized that my first podcast was in 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had no idea that it had been that long. So yeah, so it has to be over 3 years or close to being a little over 3 years. Just creeped into 26. Um, we have been on each other for I guess around 3 to 4 years. Invited me over into the podcast world and been trying to kick it along ever since. Very grateful for Elder Sheila. Been one of the very pivotal and supportive people in my life for again at least 3 years. So let's put four on it just to put a stamp. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna tell you, I met him. I had a talk show. It was about single men. I had several different categories, and he was in that 20 to 30 age group. And we talked about what men are looking for in a woman, kingdom minded men. And it was such a great talk show. So you can go back on the Elder Sheila Black Facebook page, and if you scroll all the way down, you'll be able to find that. And once I interviewed him, I knew, I was like, okay, he would be a great co-host. And the same with Rochelle. I interviewed her, and we talked about being a mom, special needs children, and how she navigates it so well. And it seems so seamless to us. We talked about, we just talked about her life and how she does it. And once I talked to her, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, she would be a great host. So I am so glad that you two are here. And likewise with Jordan, I had interviewed him, and then after I interviewed him, it's like, okay, I need you to host. So
Yeah.
I thank God for our connection. Today, we want to talk about Martin Luther King Day, the MLK Day, and how important it is to every African American person on the planet. I
Mhm.
know for me, when I think about Martin Luther King, I think about freedom. I think about someone who stood up for righteousness. I think about someone who did not want to resort to violence,
Mhm.
and that everything he did in the love and the admonition of Jesus Christ. And it was his goal to do it in a peaceful way, in a
Yeah.
peaceful manner, but yet standing up for what's right. So tell me, what does Martin Luther King mean to you, Calvin, especially being an African American male in
Mhm.
2026? Tell me, what does he mean to you?
Yeah, not only that it's, one of the most monumental people in one as being a black man in my ancestral history, it's also just the fact that we're able to have an MLK Day. We get a consistent reminder to continue to educate ourselves in the kind of the climate of the way that the country is in right now. History is, some history is getting lost. Some history is getting planned to be lost. Um, and what I won't jump into whether it's good or bad for us, but it's still we have an opportunity for us to educate. We've had the experience of understanding if we allow others to educate us, it's up to their discretion whether to be accurate or not, or whether we get the fullness of who we really are and what we're being taught. So we get the chance to continue to educate ourselves. So let's not make MLK, just a day where we hang with friends and family and barbecue and throw back a couple beers, but let's actually use it as an opportunity where we get the chance to educate and have a reminder every year that hey, you are special, you are powerful, you are beautiful. Someone did have a dream a long, long time ago, even before MLK. But even with MLK being able, like Elder Sheila said, to stand and do it in a manner that would be different than the history of how people stood, with it being nonviolent and using, faith and words. I think it was again just a true testament of something that we can continue to use today to choose peace, choose love, be strong, and to continue to love each other as we should, as one, and like the Bible said, as a brother and a sister.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. So, Rochelle, tell me your thoughts.
Um, this day, it means a lot. It means a lot. Um, it's one of those things that growing up like in the suburbs of North Texas, a lot of times, when I was younger, especially like in elementary school, I would be the black child in the class. So I've like Calvin said, I've heard how this is taught in public schools for decades. This isn't new, especially being here in Texas. We know how Dr. King is put out there, and in comparison to other civil rights leaders as well. Um, and so for me, it's always a day where I reflect on where we were, and I reflect sometimes on how difficult the conversation is and has always been,
Yeah.
and trying to figure out how do we honor his legacy by while also pushing the conversation forward and um being truthful, like you said, Calvin, being truthful in what we're saying
Yeah.
about who he was, um what being nonviolent actually means, because sometimes we're taking that to a whole nother extreme as well. And it's just really just it makes me really look at how we choose to continue to tell his story and tell his history
Yeah.
to the coming generations.
That's beautiful. And when I think of Dr. King, I don't think of him as a preacher, but he was.
Right. Right.
He
Yeah.
was a preacher.
Hmm.
He preached the gospel of Jesus Christ. and the love and the admonition of Christ. How important is it for us to keep Christ even in the center of civil rights and all of the things that are happening in the land even now? Rochelle, how important is it for us to keep Christ in the center of it?
Oh, it's so important. It's one of those things that I struggle with because sometimes, you hear us call him Dr. King, but it's Dr. Reverend, or
Mhm.
Reverend Doctor, depending on which you really want to push because um Dr. King taught, which is opposite of what a lot of evangelical churches are teaching now.
Yeah.
You are called to have empathy. You are called to be there for those who are in bondage, be there for those who are being persecuted, and not just persecuted for their religion, but persecuted for where they were born, you know, persecuted um for being poor. People
Mhm.
also forget Dr. King, the March on Washington was for equality, and it was also the poor people's the march for work as well. Like it was all encompassing. It wasn't just a black against white thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's so important that we focus and keep, Christ and our faith in the middle of our social justice and our fight for equality. Because when we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing it will be, and it's not
Man.
going to be, you know, the Latinx section over here and then the black section over here and then the black Africans over here. We just all gonna be together.
That's good.
So we need to be a, making that as much as we can down here until we get to that great by and by.
That's beautiful. Kevin, what are your thoughts about keeping Christ in the center of civil rights and with everything that's going on today?
Yeah, I think it's again another reminder of the sacrifices of so many of our servant leaders that came along. They essentially was like ordained for that role. Of course, not to compare him to a Jesus, but Jesus stood, in front of the plenty masses who acclaimed that he was a liar, acclaimed that he was false and what he was, and he still stood firm and necessarily, I guess, took the rightful way of a Christian, right? Non-violent and, stood firm with just encouraging in faith. And then, to go on into many more of our other servant leaders who were ordained to, essentially do the same thing and stand, for courage and faith and give us an example of, kind of like Rochelle said, an educated example where we can see somebody do it the right way. You kind of hit on that earlier, being a black man and seeing a black man not yell and curse and kind of force his way into what we consider justice. I think, again, is just another example of that as well. And of course, keeping faith in the middle of that, it kind of essentially shows us how much faith really is involved in essentially everything. The fact that that was a huge, black movement, but really a huge American movement. But also, even not just civil rights was all over the world. It kind of essentially went globally, and essentially his word being rooted directly through Christianity, it kind of again gave that effect that truly God and Jesus is an essential of everything.
He really, really is. And tell me, Rochelle, how Reverend Dr. King's words were for everybody. I mean, he wasn't just talking to us, he was talking to the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even when you read about how Dr. King studied, he studied Gandhi, he studied leaders of other faiths, of other cultures that were all fighting for the same goal. I know sometimes we're taught that Dr. King and Malcolm were absolutely opposites and they hate. That's not what it was. They were just two people who had different pathways, but they wanted the same goal,
Same
right?
thing.
And so um I think that when we remember that sorry, Sorry. Whew. When we remember that, Dr. King was really fighting for, like you said, for everybody. He worked with Jewish leaders. He worked, and that's what the whole entire thing was. This was for everybody, because one of the things that's an important part of American history, when Black Americans are treated equally, it's one of the few times trickle down actually works. It really helps everybody.
Yeah.
So he understood that he had to make the walk across those bridges, figuratively and literally, walk across bridges, build with communities in order to make things happen. And so, his words were for everyone. He is an American, not just a Black leader. He is an American leader and should be respected as such.
Absolutely, absolutely. What are some of the challenges that Reverend Doctor faced that Black men still face today, Calvin?
I think one, not even just to note that he was like 26 when he started doing all of this. I think that's like real big. Right today, a lot of elders would laugh in the face of a 26-year-old try to get up and stand and represent a whole body of people. So that represents his brilliance right there. And then also, I think maybe something that literally he did go through and challenge was the fact that he was fighting us as well as, um, the oppressors. So two right there, and then three also I think just maybe human error, right? We were all human, and instead of people wanting to recognize what the mission he was doing, people were blinded by the fact that again he is a human, and I think that's not what we should pay attention to. We should understand that we're all human and we all have human error, and or the fact that he is a 26-year-old young man. It's not he is divine, but his word is, if the message is good, doesn't matter what his age was, doesn't matter what, maybe what he was doing previously or something like, just again, all the different distractions and blockers that we can use to block what's is actually divinely supposed to be given for us to receive. And so, that right there, I think that's something that still goes on through today. We are an easy culprit of really designing our own blockers for ourselves.
That's good. That's good. So, what are some of the challenges you see, Rochelle, that Reverend Doctor faced that we're still facing today?
Um, the propaganda machine that was against him. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but there was a political cartoon that depicted Dr. King speaking to a news anchor saying, "And I plan another peaceful protest tomorrow." But in the background, it's all these white people laying on the ground, gotten all beat up and everything. And their idea was that, oh, he's not really about peace, So I think that a lot of times, especially with social media, we get so caught up in talking about what dresses a pastor's wife should be wearing or not, and online comedians making fun of mega churches. We get so caught up in all this stuff, and this is why the Black man don't support the Black woman, and this is why the Black woman don't support the Black man, and all this other crazy stuff. But we have real issues to be dealing with. We like just right here in Texas, they just passed where they had a special hub that not only helped Black people get contracts with the government, but women and veterans.
Nice.
And Texas was like, get that out of here. And it's like, okay, the propaganda machine is making it so that we're not coming together and really focusing on what needs to be focused on,
Right.
And so I think that's a big thing. And I think also kind of touching on what Calvin said, and I'm let me pick my words right. We need the elders in age within the church and outside of the church and politically to start mentoring and also listening so that those of us that are 26, 36, 46
Mhm.
can pick up and keep going. Y'all not going to be here always, but we're fighting against you guys like Dr. King had to do because he had, Southern ministers that were like, you doing nothing but causing problems. We're not trying to cause problems, but sometimes because we're living in it, I can't buy a house.
Yep.
You're a boomer that already has a house.
Come on.
You're not looking for a job. I'm looking for a job.
I'm looking for a job.
So sometimes help us by training us how to navigate through these systems that are in place.
Mhm.
Because you've already done the footwork. You've already made the pathway. We can follow that path and we can improve on it
Come on.
if we weren't always fighting to prove that, hey, guess what? Millennials are adults with
Come on.
401ks and bills.
Come on.
We're not
Come on.
12-year-olds.
I really think media and Hollywood and some of these other outlets
Yeah.
make us look like we're just the Real Housewives
Yeah.
of everything. It's like we're always constantly bickering and trying to outdo each other and snapping our fingers at one another and, trying to outdo each other. And look, guys, it's not like that everywhere.
It's really not.
Not like that everywhere. We are not all trying to be against each other. Look, we've got like a circle right here of totally different age groups.
Come on.
And we're collaborating and we love each other and we work together. So, don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Because it's not like that always. It's not always like that. We're not always out here trying to compete against one another. And I love how you said how we're so worried about what someone's wife is wearing in church. I mean, if her husband say it's okay, what is it for you to say?
Yeah, that's right.
If he loves it, then we should love it.
Yeah.
Right. And we
love it too bad. It's not our church. It's not our life. It's not our nothing. And that's just our opinion. And sometimes our opinions are too strong. So we need to kind of lighten up on one another and let people be who they are and allow the Holy Spirit, who is the one who rebukes us and reproves us. He's the one who will convict us when we're wrong. And if we would just allow him to do it and quit stepping in front of him, who knows? But my personal opinion, since you brought that up, my personal opinion is she can wear whatever she wants to. My personal opinion is every comedian is going to make fun. They make fun of the president. They made fun of Obama. They've made fun of Michelle. They've made fun of everybody.
Yeah.
Who says the picture is off the table? I mean, it's just comedy. It's comedy. And if you don't think it's funny, just don't watch it. That's all you have to do.
And my thing is, I can't get people to care enough to know when our next election is, to pay attention to not just James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett, but who are they opposing on the other side? You don't know none of that information. I had a friend tell me everybody's telling me to register to vote, but no one's telling me what day I vote on. We're missing the plot. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to do better.
Yeah. And he came, Dr. Martin Luther King came for us to remember these things.
Right.
Yes, and that's when you read his letter from Birmingham jail, which I read every single year. When you read his other speeches and other sermons, because like we said, he was a reverend, so he has scriptural backing on this as well.
Right.
And you read those other things, you find out that he really was trying, like we are right now, trying to capture the moment, get us focused, get us on one accord.
Yeah.
And we got work to do.
Yeah.
The marathon continues. And we just keep going and pushing forward.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you all that the Touching You Talk show, the next several episodes will be related to the election. We'll have some people on that are seeking election, and you'll kind of know who we're supporting.
Nice.
Yes, you will. You will know who we're supporting. So the next several episodes, we will have Attorney Nikki Crispin Green, and she is going to facilitate several uh, talk shows. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. But tell us how important it is, Calvin, for those people in your age group to vote. A lot of times they just don't.
Yeah, it is. It's first, man. It's a scary look right now. It's dark. It's scary, and it's almost confusing. Is like the best word for it. It's to speak from my age group of people. I guess I would say like bad. We was taught uh, negative times negative equals negative, and we are afraid. I think we've been whipped into submission to try to not pick the wrong answer. And if both answers are wrong, we think we shouldn't choose at all.
Mm,
Whereas in opposition of that, if you don't pick at all, you're still picking wrong,
that part.
you know?
Yeah.
And so like I said, it's a scary thing, and the reason I can empathize with is because again, I was raised in the same world that my peers are in, and feeling the same way they do. I can empathize with that. I do try my best to try to stay up to date on, so that at least again at least I can not pick the worst option. I don't know why, but I at least have that in me. Um, but man, the importance of it is one, not only because our ancestors did really fight for this, not even just for black people, but for like just women alone, um, just people who couldn't speak for themselves. This government has been built on people who can speak for themselves. And that, in a lot of terms doesn't even mean the rich man that's not in the office. Sometimes it means the 24 or 48 or whatever number it is that are actually in that room that represent everybody, But the fact that we get the option to still give an attempt to, again, fight against the worst is, an opportunity and a blessing in which we have been blessed to have. And if we're gonna have an issue, if they take it away from us, we should use it while we got it then. Because the next thing is they'll say, well, they don't use it, they don't need it you know and then that'll be a whole another situation that we don't want to have so if we have the power to do something and the opportunity to do something, I think we should definitely use that opportunity at the fullest ability that we can. This is a further conversation of how we think we can try to turn these things around to where we can feel more confident in the options that we're forced to have to make. But again, that's a whole other conversation.
So, Rochelle, what can we do? What are your recommendations?
Um, First, don't grow weary in doing good. Um, and don't be afraid to get into good trouble, as John Lewis said. You
Good
know,
job.
um, and um, and people don't want to hear this, but even when Dr. King was here in Dallas back in 1963, he spoke, I believe, at Fair Park, and he said that you do have to be prepared to die for what you believe in. You have to be willing to fight the fight to the end. He fought the fight to the end, fought the fight till the end. Um, but I think the biggest way is we have to get away from the memification of our politics. Everything doesn't have to be done to a TikTok dance. And
The memification.
the memification of
That's a
it.
new word right there.
We don't need that. We don't get me wrong, I get a couple of chuckles when I see Gavin Newsom tweeting like he's Donald Trump. I think that that's kind of funny. Howsoever, I look at Gavin Newsom's policies and I'm like, oh boy, if you're going to be the presidential candidate, we're in big trouble. But we get caught up and then we make our politics more of a popularity contest. So we get away from the facts, and that's what they want from us. And so we get a fake level of I'm educated. I know what's going on. Because did you see this funny TikTok video that just came up? Did you see how they own President Trump or how they own the Democrats or whatever side you're on? You know what I'm saying? It's not a video game. We're not owning anybody. If we put the wrong person in power, we all go to war. And so for me, I try my best to find a way even when I share things politically. One of the things that runs through my mind is Dr. King tried to make things clear and simplified. And he knew his audiences. So there were some where he could go deep into the theological stuff. There were some where he could use those SAT words. And then there's sometimes he was down there in Mississippi and he was, look, I'm going to use a metaphor about milking a cow because y'all know about milking a cow. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about. And so sometimes I think those of us who are politically engaged, we have to find a way to make people want to hear what we have to say and present the facts just as the facts. Boom. This is what this candidate stands for. Boom. This is when you have to vote. Boom. This is what you can and can't do while you're voting. So, important things. And we're missing all of that because we're so focused on, just we want to, like you said, Calvin, we want to make sure that we're making the best decision. But it's hard to do that. We call it harm reduction. Well, okay, if it's between a slap in the face and a punch in the face, I don't want to be hit, period.
Right.
I don't want to be hit, period. And so what I hope is that these younger generations will find their voice and their power to be like Dr. King. Dr. King was part of a change movement. He was part of a catalyst for change to make things different. Y'all are tired of the candidates that we have? Run for office. You're tired of the two-party system? Get together with some friends and start the work to start up another party. No one says we have to have these two parties. So if we keep in mind how Dr. King, his dream was bigger than just desegregation. If we keep in mind his dream was for a better America. Okay, so let's make the changes to make that happen.
So I heard Rochelle about the unification, but Calvin, how do we reach your generation? Is that the only way we can reach your generation? Is with memes, memifications, or tell me, what's the best way to reach your generation?
So that's a really good point. I think, of course, my generation is definitely hip on being entertained or being super. We want to be related to, but I think a hidden part of it is that we also really like to be educated. Like if you think about some of the things that really are popular these days, like TikTok isn't only, dancing. We're getting so much more. We're learning so much through TikTok. And who's doing that? That's us. That's my people. That's not, But really though, like it's so many different things to ways that information is getting put out, and I think adopting them all wouldn't be wrong. And I think right now, if it doesn't look cool, maybe it's not going. But I don't even know if that's really the gist of it. I think it's, and I'm kind of thinking and talking at the same time. But
Mhm.
maybe actually maybe that's the reason that we're not voting at all, because it is our entertainment and we don't take that serious. But like we actually do see it as exactly that,
I see. I
you
see.
know? And maybe there's just a grander conversation in I think us being here, that conversation isn't getting far enough to where it can give that change that Martin. That's why, again, Martin Luther King was ordained and truly, called to do exactly what he did or what he did. There's more than just us who know the I Have a Dream speech, or at least have heard it before, or even the fact that it's lasted through so many different generations is, crazy. Think about how many speeches were told during that time or even on that exact same day.
Mhm.
That's the one that has been carried along throughout all these many years, and people know it. Um, So yeah, maybe I think one day if we get someone who is in office who embodies all of these different characters, and then he has this conversation, that's when it's gonna be like, okay, now we know what needs to be done for real.
So you heard Rochelle. She said you need to, all of you out there, you young
Yeah,
people, you need to consider,
yeah,
consider running for office. Consider, learn everything you can. Communicate, educate the rest of us
yeah.
on what's on the ballot. What are we looking at?
Mm,
What do we need to consider? We will have a talk show where we're going to
mm,
talk about what's on the ballot and what we should consider. And it won't focus on who to vote for, but it will focus on what to consider as you vote.
mm.
So be on the lookout for that. That's coming up in the next week or two, and we're gonna just talk about this thing because knowledge is power. The Bible talks about the people perish for the lack of knowledge. They just don't know. So we
Yeah,
need to make sure that the people that we know are educated and they're not in the dark and they know exactly what's going on.
yeah.
So
Yep.
this has been such a great conversation. What else would you like to say, Rochelle?
Uh, just real quick, something that I do tell everybody that is younger than me, because I'm 42. So anybody 42 and younger, I tell them about, look into the Working Families Party. It's the Working Families Party. If you're tired and you want something that seems more in line with what Dr. King was talking about,
Mm,
of people of different backgrounds, different races, different ages come together. Look into the Working Families Party. Okay, they have different chapters across the nation, and one of their big pillars of their platform is getting the information out,
mm,
educating people, and getting younger people engaged, and not just, you know, running for the state or national stage, your local government.
mm,
You can be on that school board.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
You can be in that city council.
That is
You
true.
could do that.
Yeah.
Goodness, start at the PTA. you you know, but and I think one last thing I also want to touch on is people like to think that Dr. King just came out of his mother speaking, I had a dream and all
Mm,
this stuff. Part of the reason why he was able to speak the way that he spoke, he was raised in the Black church. I know we don't like to talk about Black church, white church, but he was raised in the Black church. And one of the things back in the day, the Black church, that's where our children, we knew that they were going to be taught how to read,
mm.
regardless if they had dyslexia or any other issue.
Yeah.
Our children were going to learn how to speak in
That's true.
public.
That's
They
true.
were going to learn how to make eye contact,
Yeah.
how to serve others within your community, because that's all we had. And I think sometimes we're so much into soft light church, vibe church.
Mhm.
We're getting away from the foundations that led us to having a Dr. King. Dr.
Mhm.
King doesn't have to be the only civil rights person. He wasn't the first, and he's not
Right.
going to be the last.
Right.
But it's up to us as a people to be like, you know what? Let's get back to basics. Let's build up our community and start fighting for the things instead of waiting for somebody else to fight for those things for us.
That's good.
I'm done.
That's good. And Calvin, you have anything you want to say?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm ready to go march. I'm ready to march. Yeah. Just some words of encouragement, man. Dr. King's legacy. I think it challenges us to continue to live intentionally, serve boldly, love unconditionally, and to just continue on when things are uncomfortable. Um, again, he's just one of the examples of our many leaders, that have come along and fought the good fight, stood in situations where, he was the only one fighting on what he was fighting. So sometimes your idea or your thought isn't wrong. You're just the only person in the room who thinks that way. And it's a perfect example that lets you know and remind you again to continue standing courageously. As long as if it's the intentions are right, be bold about it. You know, and if it's in love, be bold about your love as well.
I love it. I love it.
That's it.
I love it. And I just come to say that you can do whatever God has called you to do. He's an example. You just do whatever God has called you to do. Take the good, bad, and the ugly. Sometimes we want to be famous, but then we don't want all the attention it brings. Sometimes we want to have all this money, but then we don't realize the responsibility to manage it properly. So just whatever God called you to do it in excellence. Don't quit. Just when things get hard, that's when you buckle down and keep it moving. If one way don't work, find another way. The people, God gave me a revelation of that. When the people went to see Jesus, they left a different way. They left a different way. And that holds true for all of us today. When we really meet Jesus, we leave a different way. We're not the same. We're better. We're more like him. And that's what it's all about. And I think Dr. King's message communicated that we can be better. We can do things better. We can do it in love. We don't have to hate one another. We don't have to fight one another. But we can do this in love. And we have to do what the Lord God has called us to do and do it God's way. Amen. All right. Well, this has been Touching You Talk Show. My prayer is that everyone that has listened to this broadcast, that they are blessed in the city, blessed in the field, that the Lord God will make his face shine upon you, bring you peace. And we continue to pray for our very dear Jordan as his family are facing some challenges today. So let's keep him in prayer. And you guys have a great night. We'll talk to you all soon. You'll see us again, the talk show host. This is not the last time. We'll be back.
Right. That's right.
Absolutely. Bye.
All right. This has been Touching You Talk Show.
Peace.
Have a great day, everyone.